Okay, T. So we're talking about how to convert different types of units, and this is for chemistry semester 2. And pretty much what we're doing is conversions. Okay, we're talking about pressure right now in this unit, but this is going to apply to everything that you do in chemistry. So you can, the one example I'll give is if you weigh how much you weigh here in the U.S., you're going to find out the answer in pounds. So I weigh 150 pounds here. But if you go over to Britain or Mexico or somewhere and I stand on a scale, do you know how I'll get my weight? Is it in pounds? Yeah, it's kilos. It's kilos or kilograms. So different people use different words and different values for measuring the same stuff. So we're still measuring weight, but we're using different units. So that's kind of what we're going to learn how to do, is switch between those two units. The quick and easy example I'll give right now is eggs. So you know 1 dozen has how many eggs? 12 eggs, right? So then we'll get like a tricky problem that says, what if you have 2 dozens? How many eggs do you have? What is the answer to that, T? 24. So yeah, you knew it intuitively that you're going to multiply 2 times 12. But if I ask you then to convert, let's see, what if I ask you to convert 5 millimeters of mercury to atmospheres? That's not so cut and dry. So there's a science that goes behind this. And it's called dimensional analysis. You don't have to know that, but that's the fancy science word they use, dimensional analysis. But the way that you start is the first thing you do is you write what you know. So looking at our problem, what piece of information do we know? Do we know the dozens or the eggs? No, what do we know? Dozens. We know we've got 2 dozens. It's fine, it's fine. 2 dozens. So that's the first thing you do is you write down what you actually know. You know you got 2 dozens. Next thing, you're going to do some art and draw a horizontal line, a vertical line right here. And what you're going to do is, in this next step, is put down what's called a conversion factor. A conversion factor is something that relates one thing to the other. So our conversion factor is that 1 dozen is equal to 12 eggs. So it's just really fancy science. So we're going to put the conversion factor in these 2 boxes. One number is going to go on top, the other one's going to go on bottom. What your goal is to write it in such a way where the unit that you no longer want gets canceled out. So we don't want dozens anymore because we know how many of those we got. So the way it works is if you put it on the bottom, if they're sitting across from each other, they'll cancel out. And when I mean across, I mean like diagonally. So if we put dozens down here, then this is going to cancel out. So we'll no longer have dozens. And let's fill in the rest of it. So if we're looking at the conversion factor, 1 dozen equals 12 eggs, what am I missing in here? So how many eggs, right? That's going to go on top. And then the numbers are missing, right? So where do the numbers go? So these for the conversion factor. You just keep them connected. So like the dozens we said was 1, right? I'm asking the questions in a totally impossible way to answer. Yep, sorry. And then eggs is 12, right? As long as we keep in mind, our goal was to cancel out dozens. So then you just tie the numbers. So we said 1 dozen, so we put a 1. The other piece of the puzzle is eggs, which we're going to put on top, and then the number connected to it. So now we've set up our problem. Now there's just math. If there's numbers sitting across from each other, like horizontally, you do multiplication. If there's a number on top and a number on bottom, you do division. So the way this is going to work is you're going to do 2 multiplied by 12, and then because 1 is on the bottom, it's divided by 1. And that'll give us our answer. So it's 2 times 12 is 24. 24 divided by 1 is still 24. So now you have your answer, 24 eggs. So this entire process really simplifies making conversions, and it's called dimensional analysis. And you can use it for converting whatever you want. It's pretty sweet. So now we'll use a real example. So because we're talking about pressure, there's two ways of measuring it, more than two ways, but two of them is 1 millimeters per mercury, and we'll talk about that more, and then the other one's atmospheres. But the conversion factor for that is 1 millimeter of mercury is equal to 0.0013 atmospheres. And then so I could throw out like a sample problem, like 5 millimeters of mercury is equal to how many atmospheres? So this would be like one example problem. And you probably already know intuitively what you can do, but if you ever doubt, and actually just out of practice, I always do a dimensional analysis. So here's our problem we're trying to solve. What's the first step that I told you? Yeah, you write down what you do know. So we know how much of this we got, so we'll write that down. What's the next step after that T?
To set the other millimeter measurement right now that I don't know.
Right, so that's the second step. What's the artwork we do?
Oh, draw the horizontal line.
Horizontal line and a vertical line, right? So we're going to make like a square in here. Remember in here, it's your conversion factor goes in here. So yeah, what did you say our goal was in? So remember, conversion factor is this guy. One of these sides of the equation is going to go on top. The other is going to go on the bottom. So we have to decide where to put it. So where do you want to put what? This is our conversion factor.
Put the 1 millimeter diagonal from it since it can cancel each other out.
So yeah, we put the 1 millimeter of mercury down here. These two are going to cancel out. And that's what we want, because we already know how many millimeters of mercury we want. We want to know how many atmospheres we got. So what's the other part of this?
To put the atmosphere.
So yeah, we're going to plug in this guy now. So it's 0.0013 atmospheres. And it's important to always write the units in there. So yeah, now we've set this up right. Now we just do the math. What is the math?
0.0065.
That's the answer. What's the process?
5 times 0.001 divided by.
Yeah, so it's 5 times 0.0013 because they're horizontal to each other. That's multiplication. And because 1 is on the bottom, you're going to do division. So it's 5 times 0.0013 divided by 1, which is equal to 0.0065 atmospheres. And you can use this dimensional analysis process for any conversion that you're doing. And the only important thing is finding out the conversion factor. I recommend going to Google to get that, and then setting up your problem and doing the math. But that's the basics of how to do this. Thank you, T.